Hello everyone, Kit here, back with another video. Today for you guys I'm going to be reading the Universal Affidavit of Notification of Acts of Aggression, Command for Damages, and Revival of the Acts of the Universal Postal Union. I'll leave a link down in the description below. Along for email, you can email us at themonzy@gmail.com for private consultation. Without further ado, let me get right into it. We are the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Natural, Divine, Moorish American nationals who are the Moorish National Republic Federal Government and the Moorish American Consulate. We are in propria persona, sui juris, in proprio solo, and proprio heritage at all times. We are the descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. We are the ministers, creditors, executors, claimants, trustees, and beneficiaries, and heirs of our own vast estate. We are in the jurisdiction of our ancestral inherited estate, and at all times we are exercising all of our sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time. We are peace at all times and at points in time. Nothing in this lawful document or any other documents, nor verbal declarations or proclamations shall be constructed as consent any other jurisdiction than in the jurisdiction of our ancestral inherited estate. The intention of this document is that no United States corporation, company, citizen, nor any citizen nor corporation has personal jurisdiction over the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Divine, Natural, Moorish American nationals. We do not stand under the United Nations Corporation as we are sovereign and alive. The citizens and corporations who are violating the people who are the Moorish National Republic Federal Government on our land are under the United States Corporation, whereas we the people who are the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Moorish National Republic Federal Government at North America do hereby affirm that the United States and its agents and principals have performed and are currently performing acts of aggression, breaches of the peace, and threats to the peace on the land of the Moorish American people who are the government. The United States and its agents and principals are in breach of the Declaration of Independence, 1776, and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1786, and 1836, the Constitution for the United States, 1789, 1791, and the Charter of the United Nations, among many other international laws. Where neutrality under the Charter of the United Nations is stated, the following is known and we hereby affirm. Neutrality under the Charter of the United Nations in event of any threat to the peace, breach of the peace, or act of aggression. The Security Council of the United Nations is authorized, under Articles 39 through 42 of the Charter, to make recommendations, to call for the employment of measures of short of force, or to take forcible measures to obtain or resolve international peace and security. Measures short of force or force itself may also be employed in pursuance of a recommendation of the General Assembly of the United Nations. Whereas in Articles 42 and 43 of the United Nations Charter, a state may be called upon to take military action against an aggressor. The Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Moorish American nationals command international peacekeeping forces to take forceful measures against the United Nations and its agents and principals. As we have declared and proclaimed peace on our land, each Moorish American national who is the government has declared that they are part and parcel of the law of the Great Peace by way of judicial proclamation and by actions. The said sovereign government has notified the United States and its agents and principals of our peaceful existence. However, they continue to breach the peace, threaten the peace, and act aggressively towards the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Moorish American people of the land despite our proclamations of nationality and peacefulness. As pursuant to the inviolability of territory, the treaty provision states that the territory of neutral powers is inviolable. Application of the rule. The foregoing rule prohibits any unauthorized entry into the territory of the neutral state, its territorial waters or airspace over such areas by troops or instrumentalities of war. If harm is caused in a neutral state by the unauthorized entry of a belligerent, the offending state may be required, according to the circumstances, to respond in damages. We, the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign people, who are the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, command the United States to respond in damages in the amount of $2 trillion in gold and silver, backed by lawful coinage immediately. The said coinage is to be delivered to the Moorish American nationals by way of this Moorish National Republic federal government. Whereas belligerents are forbidden to remove troops or convoys of either munitions of war or supplies across the territory of a neutral power. United States military, militias, and corporate policy enforcers doing business as police officers are hereby forbidden said movement or convoys as aforementioned on our land of North America, South America, Central America, and the adjoining islands. The aforementioned belligerents have failed to provide proof of their identity and status while breaching the peace and acting aggressively, although the said status has been commanded by the people who are the Moorish National Republic federal government. They are in breach and this government commands damages immediately as stated above. Whereas we have included with this affidavit the Universal Commercial Code 1 lien filed on August 6, 2018 at 10:42 a.m. with the United Nations Corporation Company as collateral to be placed before the nations of the earth so that Universal Commercial Lien instrument can be sold to the highest bidder in exchange for high quality goods and services to be determined at that time of exchange. Revival and nationalization of the Organic Universal Postal Union. Whereas we, the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Divine, Natural, Moorish American people, who are the Moorish National Republic federal government, do hereby place this Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Natural, Divine affidavit of revival and nationalization of the Organic Postal Union on the record, for the record, and letting the record show. The Organic Universal Postal Union and the Acts of Universal Postal Union are hereby revived, reinstated, and nationalized to the status of living, natural, sovereign, and divine. Only gold and silver are to be used in payment of debts. We do hereby issue the Universal Postal Union to the sum of $500 million in gold and silver for annual operating costs to be used to return all post offices at North America to their organic operating status, to include issuing of gold backed lawful money orders stamps and to publish the said charges. As such, the Universal Postal Union peacekeeping forces are commanded immediately at North America to facilitate the protection and safety of the people who are Moorish National Republic federal government. Additionally, safe travel of the Moorish American people by all modes of conveyance, to include air and ground travel, are hereby commanded. The freedom of the Moorish American people who are held in prisoner of war camps at federal government is further. The North Gate, as the temple of the moon and sun, is the universal post for parcels and commons on earth. All administrations and corporations are notwithstanding. The said holy lands of North America, New Jerusalem, are not subject to any state or federal filing or reporting requirements, nor of North America. New Jerusalem are not subject to any state or federal filing or reporting requirements, nor any state or federal examinations, expansions, or regulations, as we are the sovereign and supreme law of the land. We are not taxed. AA 222-141A1 Truth. The peaceful reposition of the Moorish American accent, ancestral, sovereign, holy, inherited lands and property is commanded. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this treaty agreement shall be as valid against the United States under this Universal Postal Union Treaty as under the Confederation. Whereas, in addition to this affidavit, we the people who are the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Divine, Moorish American nationals of the Moorish National Republic federal government do hereby issue gold and silver to each indigenous sovereign nation of the living, natural, divine, Universal Postal Union. The aforementioned insurance of gold and silver to the said indigenous and member nations is in an amount to be agreed on by the treaty, the said indigenous nations and the Moorish National Republic federal government according to the universal needs of the said nations. All gold and silver is held in the national trust of the people who are the Moorish National Republic federal government. We hereby issue the said affidavits of gold and silver from our vast estate. The full faith and credit of the Moorish American people is vested in U.S., the Moorish National Republic federal government, of which the people are part and parcel. Universal Postal Union Director General Bashar Abdullah Hussein You are hereby commanded to notify each of the 209 indigenous member nations of the earth of all that is stated herein, and that we, the people who are this Moorish National Republic Federal Government, will begin treaty meetings with each and all of the said nations immediately, upon receiving their correspondence with the stated time and date of their arrival for the said treaty meetings. It will be an honor to meet with the sovereign nations of the earth. Arrangements for the said meetings can be made, setting the appointed time of their choosing by mail. See, they have the mail address over here. Each nation is required to live peacefully and have or revive the organic treaty of peace and friendship agreement between them and all other nations of the earth, and are required to have as their charter the said treaty, the organic acts of the Universal Postal Union and the Universal Constitution for the indigenous nations of the earth, as well as their binding charter. All other commercial treaties and agreements are to be determined at the will, and with full disclosure and consent of the said indigenous nations. All corporations are excluded from this agreement of the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Divine, Natural, Sovereign, Moorish American people who are the government and who are the law. You are to provide copies of these documents to each and all to who are participating in, have knowledge of, and need to have knowledge of, or who are not knowledgeable of this document, and the stated information and commands, so that all we are aware of our existence and commands. Those that you are to notify will include all corporations who are excluded. Attached to this notification are the following lawful accompanying documents. All the attached affidavits stand as law. 1. Affidavit of corporate death penalty, proof of death, revocation of all corporate charters, and revocation of all corporate trusts. 2. What signatures of the Article 3 Supreme Judiciary of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government who are Consul General and General Grand Sheikh Tashrik Bey, Consul General Shalamur Bey, Chief Vizar Judge Minister Light Taji Bey, Vizar Judge Sharon Tracy Gale Bey, Hamid Bey, Vizar Judge as Abisi Talib Bey, Vizar Judge Dalhidans Hadfield L, Hadazur Judge Tariq Bey, Vizar Judge Amir Hussain L. 3. Affidavit of the National Trust of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, document MAC R999999999, filed with Almanians Country, North America Register of Deeds, returning all granted land back to the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, hereby reversing all previous corporate grants, patents, deeds of trust, etc. 4. The Universal Religious Corporation Affidavit of Organization, the Temple of the Moon and Sun, with proof of service dated March 4th, 1:44 p.m. to the King Country Recorder of Deeds, the Circa 7 Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, divinely prepared for the Noble Prophet Noble Drew Ali, is included in the recording. 5. The Religious Affidavit of Organization, August 1st, 1928, document number 101-05905, showing proof of service at the Cook County Recorder by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. 6. Affidavit of the National Trust of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, placed on the public record at the MoorishAmericanCouncil.org and armsweb.corpus.us. 7. Affidavit of the National Trust of the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World. 8. Affidavit of termination and trusteeship with proof of service dated January 9th, 2019 and placed on the public record. 8. Affidavit of termination and trusteeship with proof of service dated January 9th, 2019 and placed on the public record. 9. Affidavit of land title America Annexum Ecclesiastic Allodial title placed on public record and rebutted affidavit stands as law. And 10. Proof of service of the notice of existence of the Moorish American Consulate and all the Moorish National Republic Federal Government to all corporations DBA governs at the notice at the MoorishAmericanCouncil.org and armsweb.co. 11. The notice of existence of the Moorish American Consulate with orders to honor the sovereign status of the Moorish Americans. 12. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1786 and 1836, stamped, signed, and sealed by the Library of Congress at the MoorishAmericanCouncil.org. Further credits to be issued at our discretion where all the indigenous nations are concerned. This lawful affidavit is hereby issued in the spirit of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. As you see, the rest of this document is all the signatures down here. I'll leave the links down below so you guys can check it out. And yeah, this is it for this video. I'll see you guys another time. Have a nice day. Like, share, subscribe, and have a nice day. Goodbye.